Association with Cadbury, official snack partner of the Republic of Ireland women's national team.
Katie McCabe, a huge goal.
I'm very proud of the team's performance.
We're going to go out there to beat them. We're going to try and beat them.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the COYGIG Podcast. Kathleen McNamee here to take you through all the action from the weekend in the Women's Super League. But first of all, we just have the small matter of officially getting the new manager of the women's national team. Eileen Gleeson was unveiled yesterday as taking up the position permanently rather than just on an interim basis as she has for the last couple of months. And she spoke to the press today, so we'll go into a few of the things that she said in the press conference, all very interesting in terms of the development of women's football and where she sees it going in this country. Lots of little nuggets that I was sitting there listening to being like, this sounds like Karen Duggan on an average COYGIG podcast. So to look into it a little bit more, I'm of course joined by Karen Duggan and Emma Byrne. Karen, thoughts when you saw this yesterday? I mean, she had insisted for so long that it definitely wasn't happening, and then we obviously got the news that it had been happening since about October, that they were negotiating her possibly taking on the role.
Yeah, I was still a little bit surprised. I think the fact that it took so long to fill the role, I thought that it was very much going outside, looking for a kind of almost like a marquee coach, given we're at such a pivotal time of the development of the team. But I think when it came down to it, the FAI were probably looking at the connection that Eileen has with the team. I think that played a huge factor, the connection she has with Irish football, and just having some continuity and some kind of a stable environment for the team after kind of, even since Colin was there was a lot of ins and outs, and he left unexpectedly, and then Vera came and there was all the furore that went with that maybe they just see Eileen as firstly a very good manager, obviously, and what she can bring to the table, but also a really stable figure for the team, so that they have a really good grounding to kick on and achieve what we know they kind of can achieve.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Mark Canham was also at the press conference today. For anyone who doesn't know, he's director of football with the FAI, and he would have been leading the process to hire whoever would be the eventual new manager of the team. And he was saying that they started out with something like 42 different candidates that they were looking at. And because of the fact that there isn't a massively known network, I suppose, of women's coaches in the same way there is with the men's one. You know, you would have seen it with whenever Stephen Kenny left, automatically people were like, here's at least 5 people that it could be, whereas there wasn't really that same thing whenever Vera left. And that they outsourced to a different company to get data analytics, like to examine all these different candidates. That 42 people was whittled down to 12, then it went to 7, then it went to 2. So it's kind of interesting actually hearing the ins and outs of how they did go about the process, because it would be very easy to look at Eileen coming in and being like, oh, well, she was there anyway, so we'll take her on. But it does seem like that they did put a lot into it. Emma, you've obviously worked with Eileen over the last couple of weeks in terms of moving into, or last couple of months, I should say, in terms of like taking the team forward and into League A. What's she going to bring to the table?
Well, yeah, I definitely think that continuity she has. She's extremely intelligent and well prepared for this role, to be honest. And she brings a lot of stuff, like it blew my mind, a lot of the stuff that goes on, to be quite honest, like the sports science side of things and the periodization and all that kind of stuff combined. I also think she's very, very clever at bringing a good team together, although we don't know what team she's going to have, like coaching staff wise. She knows.
I did warn her today. I was like, if she plans on taking any more of my podcast hosts, I want a call this time. So I'm expecting one from either of you if it comes, or from Eileen. Not abandoning me.
I think you're safe enough. I'm sure my Kickstart one that I did when I was 17 is probably been retired by now.
Get that converted. No, but I was like, you know, it's so difficult to get a group of coaches or sports scientists or whatever it is together and have them work so well together. And that is something that I was in awe of Eileen a little bit, because she's brought this huge group, by the way, of staff like 20 odd people, from physios to doctors to admin to operations. She brought them all together and everybody just got on so well, so harmoniously. Like, it was just incredible. Like, that team of people, along with the players, I mean, who's more important, really? that team of people and the players, you're talking about 40, sometimes 40 odd people that got on so well and worked so well together and drove standards. And, you know, that's what she's really good at, getting the right people in the right time in the right places. And then obviously her background in football, she's been coaching and managing for years. But yeah, it's just really good how she organises things, put things together. And then the detail of preparing for a game as well has been an eye-opener for me. Really excellent to see.
It's interesting you say that about her ability to bring a team together, because that's actually one of the things that I talked about. So if anyone wants to listen to her full press conference, it's on free for view wherever you want on any off the ball channels. And then I also had an exclusive one-to-one chat with her, which you can access if you're a subscriber. But as part of that conversation, I asked her about when she was bringing together her team, you know, in the new year, what was she going to look for? Because we talked a little bit about the fact she doesn't have a lot of international experience beyond the period that she's just had. So I was like, are you going to keep it quite local, which like she obviously did with having you and Emma and also having Colin Healy in there? Or is she going to kind of try and supplement that with different people? And her answer was really interesting, because she was like, basically it's about getting people that are going to gel together and can also do the job. And she's like, that doesn't necessarily dictate whether it comes from abroad or if it comes from someone within Ireland. She's like, obviously different roles are going to require different things, but even just the fact that even at this stage, she's clearly still thinking about, you know, making sure that that team does gel together and work well together. And Karen, I see you were nodding along there as I was saying some of that, just in terms of her international experience.
Yeah, which I think the fact that she's already talking about working as a team is important, because yes, Eileen has all the credentials, she's done all the work, she's been involved in football for 20, 30 years, but the game has moved on, and predominantly her experience in terms of management was in when the girls were amateur. Her professional experience was with Glasgow, and obviously that didn't work out the best, but she knows that if she has a team around her, it can supplement all of the really positive things that she can bring to the table. But I do think the team is very, very important, given that we're asking the girls to step up every time. We're saying the girls need to become more professional. The game is moving on. We just need to make sure that we keep up. And coaching is the same. And a big part of that is not letting your ego get in the way, and knowing where a staff member can complement you and can drive on the team in certain ways that you can't. And I think that Eileen probably does have the self-awareness. I obviously haven't worked with her in terms of being on a coaching staff with her, but I do think she's always conscious to have good people around her. And even when we were first starting out with P-Mount, yes, Eileen was the main coach, but she had someone in who also really helped the team gel and bond and brought the crack and recognised the importance of that. So I think that that's something different to the two previous managers, where they were very much like, I'm the boss, this is the way of things, and we feed off my views and my way of doing things. Where I think that going forward with Eileen, she's open to a more collaborative approach, and I think that'll feed the team will respect that as well, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And it seems to be, from what Emma said, that was the way things were inside the camp. And I thought it was quite interesting yesterday, whenever the announcement was made, there seemed to be a general outpouring of support. There was a couple of questions into us in the podcast. Was it maybe in some ways short-sighted? And I can understand why people feel like that, because it was obviously hiring from within and someone who was already there. And you know, Karen, you even said it yourself, with the amount of time that had passed, you were thinking, okay, is there someone bigger coming in here? Is there something big happening maybe? But I think, to be fair, having listened to what Emma has said so many times about having worked with Eileen, what you said about her in the past, Karen, and also just hearing the process that they went through, the FAI actually went through to get to this point, it surprised me how thorough it was. Now, obviously, we didn't actually see the process, so they could be just saying it was a stir-up. But it did seem like they put a lot of work and effort into making sure that right person comes. And one of the things I asked Mark Canham today was, it's great that you put all that into the coach, but are you now also going to put that into whoever becomes the director of women and girls football? Because that's really, really important to the continuation of football in this country and making sure it's supported at a grassroots level. And I know you said that, like, you know, the future is uncertain. You haven't heard anything. We obviously don't know what the background team is, but do you still have that hunger for international football?
Yes, of course. More so than before, to be quite honest. Like when I retired, I had fallen out of love a little bit with the game because of everything that we went through as players. And I know Carol felt the same and Ollie felt the same. We were extremely stressed. It was a stress.
Withered, bent down.
I think you can tell in the photos that. And it was so stressful that I actually didn't even want to look at football. I didn't want to hear about football. I wanted to go into a cave for a couple of years, and I pretty much did that, to be quite honest. And having worked hard on my coaching badges and my coach education in the past, it seemed like a bit of a waste, but slowly start getting back into it, like with the commentary and taking some coaching sessions here in Barcelona. And I just kind of started getting back into it. But it was really important for me to work with somebody that was supportive and honest and just generally a good person to work with that was going to help me, because there are some people in football that you really don't want to work with. And it was important that I didn't go into that again. So yeah, it was really refreshing, and working with Eileen and all of the staff, like I'm talking about from the kit person to doctors to physios, Eileen, Colin, Richie, fantastic people to work with. And it just made me want a little bit more. And I used to look forward to going into camp, to seeing everybody. So it was really nice. It was a really good environment and really, really professional, you know, really high standards and a lot of pressure on the coaches, to be quite honest, to perform. And that's the way it should be, because the girls deserve the best. And it is about the girls and about how that they can develop. And it was just really good. So you're asking me if I have the goo for it. Yes, I've got the goo back for coaching. So I'm going for it. What else can I do? Give me something to do. Just make me.
I'm sure there's a off the ball five-a-side team that you could take for a couple of weeks if you want to fill in the gap until decisions are made in that front. Yeah, and like I think it's interesting you saying about, you know, working with the team and really enjoying going in. That seemed very palpable from the outside as well. You know, it was quite obvious, and I thought it was funny the amount of people as well who said to me that they noticed you guys on the sideline and the way you interacted with each other whenever there was a break in play. You know, it wasn't just Eileen up chatting to the players, it was you pulling someone aside and giving them a little bit of help. It was Colin pulling someone aside, giving them a little bit of advice, or, you know, something that you'd spotted that maybe they hadn't spotted on the pitch. And I thought it was interesting that I was obviously looking for stuff like that because I'm a journalist and that's what I'm supposed to do, but it was just average people that were noticing it as well, and noticing that, I say average as if like journalist makes me all high and mighty. I don't mean that. Fans is what I should say before anyone starts getting annoyed in our comment section. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that people were picking up on that in general. One of the other questions that we had in kind of regularly, and I think we've kind of talked about this before, but it's like, how much will we need to change our approach as we prepare for League A? I was having a look at the pots today when I was waiting to chat to Eileen, and I forgot just how interesting a draw we could possibly get for ourselves. You know, there's potential of facing, you know, it's like France, England, Spain, Germany or something, and then also maybe getting Sweden in the same group, which would not be a very fun experience. But Karen, we've talked about this a lot. I suppose the foundations feel like they're there, even if we admit that we won't be able to play exactly the way that we have been playing over the last couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, League A is going to give us a good dose of reality about where we're at. I think the results in League B were important again, just so that the girls could decompress after all of the stress of the World Cup and all of the expectation that brought, and just get back to winning ways, and something that, again, kudos to Eileen and Emma and the team. They spoke about being given the confidence to go and play, and I think that was nearly missing from us a bit. Like they were afraid to nearly make a mistake. So I don't mind us playing defensively as long as you still like allow the girls to be themselves and have some ambition in that regard. And I think that the foundations defensively have always been there. We are not getting ahead of ourselves. We know that we will probably still go with the five at the back, and we'll bank up against these people. But I think playing like that and feeling a huge amount of pressure and playing like that and having the confidence to go and make a mistake are two very different things. And yeah, League A is going to be very, very hard, and Eileen's not going to change things massively, I'd imagine. Emma confirmed that, but I think the girls just needed what they needed to show that they could go and score goals and they could have good passages of play. And that breeds more confidence, even if you only get to do it 2 or 3 times in a game. They have the foundations of that as well as the defensive structure now.
Yeah, and it's going to be a busy year. I mean, we already seen with this year that it was one of I think it was the most amount of games that the players have played in a single year. It doesn't look like next year is going to get any easier in terms of having, obviously, those Nations League games. There's talk about more club games coming into the fray as well. So I suppose rotation is going to be really important. Getting those younger players in is going to be really important. The likes of your Jesus, the cohort of P-Mount ones that are in the international setup at the moment. And one of the things I said to Eileen when we didn't know she was going to become manager, and when we thought it was the last time that we would be speaking to her in that sort of basis, was like, what was one of the things that you wish you'd had the chance to do more of? And she was like, for different situations, such as that gloriously rainy night that we had to put up with, and also the second last game that we had in Tala, where things were a little bit more difficult than we maybe expected. She was like, I would have loved to have got more players on the pitch and given players more opportunity. When it comes to that, like, I suppose for people who aren't involved in it, what's the balance like in terms of making sure players are getting time, but also making sure that they're getting the right people are getting on the pitch in terms of getting results? And then also, I suppose, just bringing people into camp and showing them what it's like to be in a camp, even if it's not actually getting on a pitch, and just instead doing training sessions and learning off those more experienced players.
Well, that was the whole idea. I mean, retrospectively, they were friendly games, a bit glorified. Of course, there was promotion and you know, that was a big thing. But at the end of the day, it was a great opportunity to play new players, younger players, and Eileen always had that in mind, that we're a very serious tournament, but it's a great opportunity to give players experience. You know, the Euros are coming up, and either way, if she was going to take over or not, she was always going to be a part of the development of the team in some way or another. So she was always thinking that way. But I mean, it's like anything. If you go into a game and you're playing against, I don't know, an England, and it's 0-0, obviously you're not going to bring on a young player that's never played at that level. Or maybe you will if you think a lot of them. But it's all about decision making at the time. And I think, you know, I'd be more inclined to be a little bit, you know, are we going to bring these young players in now? Like, you know, let's stick with this player and go here and go there, whatever. But Eileen's been pushing for the young players, and it worked out really well. And they've been so impressive. Like, all the players that came in, so impressive, and really gives you great encouragement for the future of women's football, because you spoke about having to condense games, and it's crazy what these players have been asked to do this year and next year even more. I'd worry for them, to be quite honest. But I think Ireland are at the stage where you can make changes and you can expect players to go in and do a very good job, which is, I don't think we've ever been at that stage. I don't think we've ever had a bench that you could change the whole bench and still go and push for results. And that's no offence to anyone who's been there in the past. It's just the level that we're at the minute and the level that we want to play against. And there's loads of confidence. I mean, even the likes of Freya Healy come in, she's younger than my niece, which has made me feel so old. But so good. She just fitted in. She looked like she was already at the standard. I'm like looking at her going, oh my God, she could actually play, no problem. She could start for us, to be quite honest. And I didn't want to tell her that because you don't want to slow her down. She's very, very grounded.
I wonder if she's a listener to the podcast.
She's very, very grounded. But yeah, she's that good. So that's really positive. And now, now that Eileen's the manager, she'll be looking at that and how to sustain that and how to develop that, because that's where Eileen is extremely, extremely good at. And monitoring the players, and she's got a really good system in there, like stuff that takes a very long time to do, and a lot of time it's taken up, like monitoring the players, every single player. Imagine every single player across the country, across Europe, takes a lot of time, but that's the commitment that she's going to give, and I think that's what the players appreciate most, to be honest.
Definitely, and it's going to be very exciting, hopefully, to see what she does with this team and also where they go in terms of the European qualification campaign. It's going to be a lot tougher a journey than what we've had over the last couple of months, but I think we all deserve the break. We all deserve to just watch some goals go in, as I always say. So yeah, that's Eileen Gleeson. She is the new coach of the women's national team. Her contract runs until the end of the Euro 25 campaign, wherever that should be. Hopefully it is all the way to, is it Switzerland I think it's supposed to be in? Hopefully it's all the way there. And yeah, really interesting stuff. I would definitely recommend any of our listeners check out the press conference today in terms of what Mark Canham sees the role as, what Eileen Gleeson sees the role as. Lots of talk about making sure it's a positive, inclusive environment, a focus on youth, that it's vision aligned with the rest of the FAI, that player pathways are developed all the way from under 15s through to the senior team, and also that it's a role that has a lot of feedback into the rest of the FAI as well. So just a few jobs for Eileen to look after there, nothing too serious. But for now, we are going to turn our attention away from Ireland, which is sad. And we are going to go to our team of the week. And Emma Carroll is in studio with me. Emma, how are you?
Good. Here for what the people actually want, Nobody came to listen to Emma and Karen talk about the new Irish manager, obviously.
It's the people want the team of the week, and we shall give the people what they want. Okay, so I shall run through what we have as the team here. Oh, actually, no, sorry, Emma, you go do it. It's your team. I don't know why I would do that. I'm so used to not being
into the habit.
I know, so you haven't been here the last few weeks, so that's why.
We've got, I'm going to mess up her name, I know I am. Fotikova.
That's good.
Naylan, Bartrup, Fisk and Hines at the back. A midfield of Kelly, Cuthbert, Holland and Bizet, and up front Shaw and Thomas.
In fairness, I was about to do the team and then I saw Vodikova's name and I was like, no, I'm going to let Emma go for this one first. Karen, thoughts, queries, opinions on this team?
Yeah, well, again, a bit of a mix of people going into the fixtures that I wouldn't have expected to feature. I would have, thought we'd get some Man United and Arsenal players, but alas, it was not to be. And yeah, the standout name for me is Vodikova, because it was her first WSL game. Am I correct in saying that? First WSL game, faced, they nearly had 70% possession, Arsenal 30 odd shots, and didn't look phased, and was comfortable on the ball out from the back, and that fed its way through the team. I think she was a huge part of that result, and her interview after was really lovely, really refreshing. So yeah, she's the standout player there. And obviously Bunny Shaw she's back. She is back being Bunny Shaw, and it is terrifying. And I think City, again, it's almost like City wouldn't have wanted this break to come, because they're building some consistency. I think that is, when they're on form, is very, very hard to play against.
Yeah, I think, did Courtney make Bunny mad? Because as I say
that one
thing, I was
thing,
like, yes, and then like 2 minutes later I was like, oh.
Yeah, I feel like this title race in general is just like, if it's like 3 cars and one just kind of keeps nosing in front of the other, and every week you think it's going to be someone else. What about you, Emma?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the first time that I would agree with every single player. Very,
It had to happen.
Do we have a klaxon or something that we can put off?
I totally agree with that. Obviously, it had to go to Botikova. She made 2 really important saves, like as well as the possession. I think it was really important for her to be brave. I mean, that goal came right from her to playing through the centre against Arsenal, who absolutely destroyed Chelsea last week because of their press.
Yeah. I was like, you're insane.
Centre like that.
Yeah.
Like literally 8-yard pass when they're getting pressed. It's just ridiculous. I thought she was excellent. And the 2 saves she made in the first half were just really, really good. Probably better than what a lot of people would think, because, you know, she couldn't see the ball. She had to take loads of different things. She was really good. Fisk, I thought was brilliant. Bunny Shaw has just been incredible. Like, she's just so difficult. That game against Tottenham, that header she scored against Molly Bartrop, why would you leave yourself in a 50-50 with Bunny Shaw? You just can't do it. You either have to get in front, you have to sneak, you have to cheat, and you have to get in front of her, because if you're left in a 50-50 with Bunny Shaw, you might as well just stop. Just go home. Bizet as well. I think she's been really, really impressive this season, considering Tottenham and what an absolute disaster they've had so far. I mean, if my team conceded 11 goals in 2 games, I don't know where I find the energy to pick myself up, especially playing against an Arsenal. Like, their run of games was just incredible as well. United, City, then Arsenal, but they were just brilliant, weren't they? Yeah, really. Yeah, really much agreement, Emma.
Thank you. I'll take it. Could have got more Liverpool players in there, probably.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't. I was expecting it to take over from your Irish bias this week.
Slightly, it did. There's 3 in there. Spurs and Liverpool had to rule the roost this weekend.
Yeah, I think they're justified selections, to be fair.
Was there anyone in particular that kind of stood out for you, Emma?
I thought Taylor Hines was really good, especially considering the nightmare she had in the 6-0 defeat in last season. Bunny Shaw, yeah, she's just unstoppable, isn't she, this season? And Kerry Holland as well. I think she's having an underrated, probably 2 seasons at Liverpool. She was really good last season as well.
It always seems like one of those people that's just always very consistent when she plays, but probably to the level where people don't pluck her out because she's...
Do you know what? I was just about to say the opposite. I really rate her, but I think she's too inconsistent to like be on the radar, if you know what I mean. Like, there's some games that I look at her and I'm like, she's so good. She's brilliant. And then where is she? She disappears, or, you know, parts of the game she'll disappear. So if she was consistent, we'd be speaking about her like every week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one player who's I have been really impressed with is Martha Thomas, and every time I look at her and I look at what United's shortcomings are, I'm kind of like, do we make a bad move there? Because she can score. And United have created a lot of chances at the beginning of that game, but just not clinical. And then Spurs got 1 chance back at the net. Just thinking.
That's a tough one because
yeah.
Martha Thomas, she just works extremely hard. Actually, she played more on the right side with United, which I thought maybe she might play there for Spurs as well, because they've got Bethany England, and especially that was their first game starting together in the WSL. No, they started against United, didn't they? So it was the second game. So I thought maybe who's going to play where, who's going to drop deep. I thought Thomas might play right, but actually they were so good. Both of them were very good centrally. I don't know if she'd be United's answer. I mean, they're just...
I know, it's just because when obviously they lost Russo, you're taking out that central engine player who initiated press and put teams under pressure, and was a lot more clinical than what we're seeing at the moment. But Mallard, I'm just thinking of that example where she got the ball, the keeper was out of the net, and she went at it with her wrong foot. You're just kind of thinking...
Yeah, actually, that's a player I thought you might have put in there. Hayley Ladd, again. I thought she was really good. Yeah. I thought she worked really hard in there. So she looks like a new player.
She makes this week's bench.
There's a lot of pressure on her.
Well, Emma, thank you very much for doing another Team of the Week. You get to have a little bit of a break now.
Thank you.
No WSL until the 21st of January, so
It's a month. Yeah, just about. Yeah.
you can refresh your eyes for when you have to watch multiple screens once again. But yeah, thank you as always for all your Team of the Weeks this year, both from this season and the previous season. They're always very much appreciated, and I know our listeners enjoy chatting about them as well. So I'm just going to run through our team here again, just so everyone can remember what we had. So we had Vodakova, and then we had Mailing, Bartrip, Fisk, Hines, Cuthbert, Holland, Kelly, Bizet, Shaw, and Thomas. So that is this week's Team of the Week. And as a perfect segue, we now can talk about the football that happened. And I was like humming and hawing in my head. I was like, how do I do this? Because I was like, Karen's not going to want to talk about United. Emma's not going to want to talk about Arsenal. I don't really want to talk about Arsenal either, but we're going to have to talk about both of them one stage. So I flipped a coin before we started to decide. And Karen, you get to go first and talk about United. So obviously Liverpool 2, United 1. First time that Liverpool have beaten them in the league. I suppose it's a sign of where the two sides are this season, maybe, where Liverpool are on a bit more of an upward trajectory and United are either kind of flat or just kind of ping-ponging around.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. They're a little bit flatter than last year. You got a little bit more excited, I think, watching Man United than you do this year. And it's almost filtering in, like they started the game really positively, and then they do something like kind of basically miss an open goal, and then maybe the nerves start to kick in and they let the opposition team get a foothold in the game. And like they still had the lion's share of possession, but I can't really remember them causing Liverpool a huge amount of problems. I thought Liverpool were well set up. I think that their backline this year is very good. They've been pretty consistent, less mistakes. We said last year Liverpool were getting pressed in the middle and losing the ball in vulnerable areas, and they've cut that out a little bit. So you have to praise Liverpool a lot. I thought that Mark Skinner, I don't know if you saw his interview after, where he was brutally honest. Like, if you don't want to go and head a ball as, a centre back or you're defending from a corner, then you deserve to concede. And Man United looked like they closed their eyes the two times the ball came in the box where they conceded.
It was a terrible goal, wasn't it?
Shocking. And like,
so bad.
There's just not really any excuse for it. People can have off days, but you keep your eyes open from set pieces, and
that's like something I would do if a ball was flying at me.
I'm not great at heading the ball defensively from a set piece, but I'll at least hang on to my player and try and push her away from the goal. But it was just way too easy, and there's no excuse for that. No matter how bad you're playing, like, you can do the basics.
I think they've too many passengers this season.
Yeah.
Like, just speaking on, United, they did hit the post. Like, sometimes it is a bit of bad luck, but the fact that there's a whole season in general, I think they're carrying players that either aren't really good enough or just not good enough at the moment for whatever reason that is. And I think if you're going to bring in a player like Jaycee, who I rate, I thought was a really good signing. She's not the player you can put on the bench and then bring on. She's not that type of player. She's a confident player. You have to assure she's going to play a player in the right position. I'm still waiting to see her play on the right side. I still think...
and I think Nikita Parris could be an impact sub. I think more so than Jaycee.
Absolutely.
That would be a straight swap for me.
Yeah, I understand he wants to give Nikita a chance, and I do rate Nikita as well, but you can have the same value being on the bench and being able to come on and create as someone who starts, and that's how football is now. But in general, I just think, I think Laetitia is not having a great season. I don't think Riviere is having a great season. We spoke about the midfield. I think Hayley Ladd's come in, and I think she absolutely should be starting. And I was one of the ones to say you need to sign one, if not two, new midfielders. And I
don't think Galton has reached the heights that she did last season either, in terms of how clinical she was.
I get that as well, and it is all about service and stuff. And it can breathe that contempt through the team. Like, you look at United, it could be the last minute they score. I don't feel like that anymore. Like if they're a goal down and it's going into the 85th minute, last season I would have been like, they're going to score. They're going to probably score 2. But now I'm like, I don't feel it, because I don't feel like they feel it either.
No, you're literally waiting for Rachel Williams to come on and kind of just somehow get a cross and a header, and you can't be dependent on someone like that.
And also, when you bring Rachel Williams on, why is she playing deep? I don't really understand.
No, get her in the box.
Yeah, I don't really understand. It's like put Louise Quinn up front in the last 5 minutes, get the balls in the box. Why would she be coming into midfield? But yeah, there's a couple of things going wrong there, and actually, I think it's so easy to say, but it could all drift away from them at the second part.
I mean, if they do lose Mary Earps, I think, is that just another statement that this team isn't competing?
Well, it's like
the top teams.
Like what we said last week, when they lose Mary Earps, they have to make big signings to be considered one of the top clubs again. But you have to give credit to Liverpool.
Absolutely.
I love watching them play as well. You never know what you're going to get for them. They've got really exciting players. I thought Melissa Lawley, actually, that was one of my players I was supposed to say to Emma, maybe I would have thought about her, because I thought she was absolutely excellent, and she's made a big difference having come back from injury. So I think they're brilliant. I love watching them. I think Fisk has been a great signing for them. Bonner, what I was cringing at that injury.
That's awful.
That was
a horrific injury. And I don't know why she was walking off the pitch. Get her on a stretcher, because I was just expecting her to collapse, to be quite honest. That was a nasty cut. And if you look back at it, it actually looked like she went into a little bit of a fit or something when her arms stretched out. And I was just like, oh my God. But yeah, you definitely don't want to collide with Rachel Williams. That's sure. So brave, really brave, Bonner. And I thought, that in general, they had a great game. And it is down to Matthew Beard. He just has a way of galvanising his team and getting his team to perform at the best they can. And people were talking about him getting the sacked at the start of the season. Well, not at the start, because they beat Arsenal, but when they got beaten heavily in their second game or third game. But I thought it was a decent game, and I actually thought United were going to go in and going to win easily, because how they started. But then again, as you said, they allowed teams to come back into it and then physically and mentally drop off. So they're going to have to try and sort that out.
When I first asked the question to Karen about like Liverpool kind of being on that upward and United being a little bit flat, does this Liverpool team as it is have the capacity to do something like United did last season and kind of get themselves into those Champions League spots, or are they still just missing something crucial to kind of give them the spark and push them up that little bit? Or maybe the other teams are just a bit good. I mean, we saw City start to their season last year was kind of the thing that did them down in the end.
Top 3, no.
I don't think so, no.
That top 3 is sewn up, I think, already.
No, that's fair. I did think that, but I was like, I'm going to throw it out there and just see if there's any interesting thoughts. Okay,
no.
We'll move away from Karen's pain, and instead we will move on to myself and Emma's. Obviously, a tragic day for the North London derby. Well, not if you're a Spurs fan, but Tottenham won, Arsenal 0. First time ever that they have beaten them in the North London derby, and that was obviously after the 3-3 draw during the week in the Cup, where Arsenal won eventually on penalties. It could have been a lot worse if that last shot had managed to go in. I was literally watching it and I was like, I don't want it to go in, but I was almost screaming in my head, like, shoot, just take the shot, do it, you can do it, and didn't do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I made a comment and I was told I was being anti-Spurs, but I wasn't being anti-Spurs at all. I just said Arsenal lost the game, because for me, they were in control. They were in better areas in the pitch, and just their final decisions in the box, the final ball, that bit of class in the area. The difference between them and a Barca, for example, is they know how to play the ball in and around the area. They're not well, they are greedy, but they score normally. But, you know, Arsenal need to get better at that. They need to get better at exploiting those situations and realising when to pull the ball back to somebody, when to pass it, when to keep it, when to get the extra pass in. And I just thought, this is a team that looked like they've been told to score as many goals as possible. It is imperative that we score a lot of goals here today.
Frantic as opposed to being composed at times,
They looked like they were snatching and, as you say, frantic. And I was just going, what's going on here? The important thing is the 3 points. And once you score one, then you can start going, okay, we want more. But it hurt. It did hurt, to be quite honest. And I give a lot of credit to Spurs. I thought they were excellent. And as I said, they conceded 11 goals in their previous 2 games. They're a team that you would want to play if you're looking for goals. And they were just brilliant. They were just so solid. They were very brave in defence. They were so brave playing out. And at some stages in that first half, I was
a bit kamikaze, isn't it?
Why are they doing this? But I would look at Arsenal and I stand by that. And I would say that they lost the game because of poor decisions, because of poor pressing in certain areas.
You're right. Their execution was like they dominated possession, they dominated the amount of shots, but 31 shots, 8 were on target. So that's not a great return. So like you say, they were snatching, they were taking the wrong option at times. I'd agree with that. I don't think that's anti-Spurs. I mean, giving credit to Spurs because they came from 2 heavy defeats and we expected them. You expected Arsenal to have a bounce after the Chelsea win. Expected that to be the standard that they set for themselves in every game going forward if they're going to finally topple Chelsea, and they didn't produce it this week.
Well, this is what I was most disappointed with. I know what it's like at that club. I know what the standards are. I know it's in every single thing you do. Well, what it was in every single thing you do is extremely high standard, and how you present yourself at the club, everything is just extremely high. And the fact is, finally, here is the team that looked like they could go and beat any team in this league and challenge Champions League. Let's kick on from here. This is it. We're here. We're there. We've made it. And for that, us as players, if we were, back in the day, if we'd have had a performance like that, that's it. We're playing like that for the rest of the season. We're kicking on and we're going to turn a screw and nobody's going to come near us. And so much so that we can actually take the mick a little bit the last couple of games. Just shocked. I couldn't believe it. I was like, they look like a team that in the first 10 minutes when it wasn't, when they hadn't scored 2 goals, they started panicking. And that's not Arsenal. I don't think. Didn't look like that.
In terms of them looking like they were panicking and not looking like an Arsenal team, do you put that down to having already played Spurs during the week, the heights of the Chelsea game the week before? These are sort of the games that Arsenal are generally well able to get up for.
I mean, I said I was doing the show on Saturday, and I said Kim Little, and Karen Kearney was like, well, they've got enough players. They don't need Kim Little. But I'm not just talking about Kim as in her level of play. I'm talking about as a leader on the pitch, as somebody that calms things down. Kimmy dictates the tempo. She dictates. And there were some times where they needed to slow it down a bit, keep the ball, switch the ball, etc. And I think she is the player that does that. And she is the leader. And there was nobody on the pitch to say, wait a minute, why don't you try and pass the ball instead of taking a shot next time? Or I didn't see much demand there. If I'm in a good position, why are you not giving me the ball? Why not? You tried to score there. Nobody, I would have been taking people's heads off. I know that's not always the answer, but if I'm free in a better position and you've skied it over the bar, I'm going to let you know about it. And I didn't really see much of that. And I think that's where Kimmy might come in. She might not be vocal like that, but she definitely would come in and dictate the play a little bit more.
Emma, you mentioned there about the fact you were doing the comms at the weekend or the show, and one of the questions we have in is from Laura Brady on Twitter, and she was asking, will Miedema stay at Arsenal? Emma's comments on Sky on the weekend have set off panic attacks.
Here it goes again. I do not know if she's going to stay or not, but I will say, and this is me just guessing before anybody thinks I'm a witch or anything. I think she would be looking to leave. I think she was looking to leave last season and it just didn't happen. So I don't think she's the type of person to change her mind about something like that. I don't know where. I knew where last season, but I don't know where this season. But I think she will move on. I do think that.
Very interesting one to see if she does. If anyone is looking, the latest or the newest episode of her and Beth Mead's documentary series that they've done about recovering from their ACL injuries, that's now up on Arsenal and is well worth a watch because it's a topic we talk about quite a lot. I'm conscious that we don't have a lot of time because we spent a lot of time on Eileen Gleeson earlier on, with that being the big breaking news of the week, especially for all our Irish fans. But just to run you through the rest of the scores, we had Man City thrashing Everton 4-1. I mean, there was a good moment for Irish fans in there where Courtney Brosnan did save a goal from Bunny Shaw, or a penalty from Benny Shaw, but then of course she went on to score 3 more, so it wasn't all that great in the long run. Chelsea 3, Bristol City 0. Then we had Leicester and West Ham drawing, and then Aston Villa beating Brighton 1-0. A lot of red cards this week at the WSL. There was a total of 3, and I think I saw, it was like on the BBC or something, some stat that there's been a 600% increase in the number of cards given out for dissent and different things like that. So kind of interesting in the context of things. Is there anything in any of the rest of those games that you guys would like to point out, or any performances in particular, Irish or otherwise? I will accept all types, that you want to hit on this week.
Well, I just want to talk about cards. Chelsea, Arsenal Chelsea last week. 4-1 to Arsenal, and Chelsea only received 1 yellow card. So I'm saying there should be more. There should be more, not fewer.
Yeah, well, I think I have the stats up here. So there has been a 600% increase in cards for dissent compared to last season, so 4 to 24, while cautions for time wasting have increased from 8 to 28. So both of those are quite high compared to previous seasons, but we do know that Pigmall and Howard Webb have said that this is something that they are determined that they are going to do a bit more. The total number of yellow cards has increased from 124 in both of the 2 last seasons to 172 this campaign. So yeah, there's been a lot of them. I suppose the most controversial one is probably the Alex Greenwood one for time wasting earlier in the season. That was one I couldn't really get behind all that much, but I haven't noticed it. I haven't felt like it's affected my watching of the game so far, apart from an odd decision, but you're always going to get those as well.
No, I don't think so. I think the refereeing has been okay. But yeah, like you said, the Alex Greenwood, that Greenwood one, I wouldn't say anything else was controversial, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's been a couple that maybe should have been given, but who cares?
Yeah, let the game go.
It's fine. Everything is fine. Okay, well, thank you both very, very much for joining me. It has been a pleasure as always, and it's always great to have a bit of breaking news to deal with on one of these. The COYGIG Pod on Off the Ball is sponsored by Cadbury, official snack partner to the Republic of Ireland women's national team. We will be on a slight break pending something absolutely catastrophically massive happening with no WSL again until the 21st of January. But if you miss us, you can get us on at the COYGIG Pod, and we will still be tweeting away different bits and pieces about players, if there's any interesting transfers coming up, if Emma's mystic ball when it comes to player transfers actually turns out to be real. But for now, thank you so much for listening for this year. It has been a sensational year for the national side, making that first ever World Cup tournament, and it's been a pleasure to be able to discuss it with you all and to bring you this podcast every week. So thank you for listening. Have a lovely Christmas and a very happy New Year.
The COYGIG Pod on Off the Ball, in association with Cadbury, official snack partner of the Republic of Ireland women's national team.